Off with roll call. I'll just read off the part. Bob?
Present.
If you're interested in attending that, with that. Same time, this location. Okay, so public comment. Anyone want to address the committee?
Boyd, can you make sure you're speaking to the mic?
Okay. Yeah, I can lift this up. 2025 meeting. Any comments or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
And I'll second it, Sherry Danko.
And the motion was made by Ken Kraus? Motion was made by Ken Kraus?
Thank you.
Okay. And all in favor? Results from the first, I'll scroll down there to get that. Try to expand that. Just the highest, the fire truck, historic district infrastructure, and then I'm going to go through, so those criteria are also on the long form, but just gives you an idea where we're at right now.
Boyd,
Can't hear you.
Sorry. But yeah, I'll convert these to the short form, and then we'll get a better idea where all the projects are in December when we get them all reviewed.
Question, Lisa Gillen. Could we possibly see these on the final?
Yeah, we can do that. Now, February, then we'll have a final list. And you may want to break it down to the top 5 or however you decide to do that. Okay, so
Patty Allen, am I supposed to push this button? Pretty much seemed to me that
The 1 through 12, is there a Ken column there somewhere?
yeah, and then there was a couple. Here we're going to rank some of the questions on these projects. Next we'll go to the canal basin and dredging. I'll bring that form up. We do have some of the staff here if you wanted to address any questions on that.
When will we know whether or not we received that? Because it seems to me that works.
That will be applied for later on in the year. Brian was supposed to be here.
Know that by the time it.
Just take one of those.
Very natural to the microphone. Thank you.
For the record, I was just asking her, do we put our names on it?
We can apply, it will close in January, and then sometime after that we'll know if we've been awarded. We were awarded the grant previously, we just couldn't get the permitting in place.
Additional question, do you see any further need for funding of dredging of this in the future? I don't see anything in the out years through 2030 indicating any need to redredge.
Of course, I would expect there to need to be dredging in the future. I just don't know if it would be in 2 years or 5 years. I'd have to do a little
is going to be with a joint venture with another organization or another entity. Do we leave that blank for you to fill out? Because it doesn't, we don't have any knowledge of what is joint or what is not.
Would this be a joint? Other than the grant, so yeah, no other agency funding.
So my point is we're going to be asking this for every single project that we vote on. So
Yeah, we can go along and do that.
so if you could do that, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, we have the staff here that would have good knowledge of those.
Excuse me, Mike Fox. So this is not considered a joint project?
No, yeah, it's a standalone for the city, other than the grant, which is a separate, I think it's a separate criteria on there. And just to ask if you can write the project name on the top there, you put all on there. I guess next time we can pre-label them with the project. Should I move on to the next?
Yes.
Move on to the next, okay. Downtown flooding, phase 3. This, if I'm not mistaken, is conjunction with the study that Kimley Horn is issued, which will provide more information as where to direct these funds.
Ron Evers Public Works, that's correct. It's only 18 months to complete. They're going to be bringing, the costs of those are going to be expensive projects.
Is it state funding involved in this, perhaps? State or federal funds?
Yes, we do anticipate reaching out and getting grants for a majority of the work. That's what we're hoping for. Our grants writer is going to assist us with that process and through the study portion of it from the consultant.
Mike Fox, when it comes to operation and maintenance, what does this look like as far as the costs? Increase, decrease, or not affect?
That's a good question. So I'm thinking from a flooding standpoint, the damage to the roadways, sidewalks, infrastructure is going to be minimized, but there could be additional features that are added.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In regard to grants, as we move forward with this project, we go through the study stage and into the design. We'll be the consultant will be looking for grants all along the way.
Agencies is one of the other criteria.
Bill Courtney, you mentioned that the Kimley Horn study is going to take 18 months to finish. Is that a necessary precursor to any utilization of any of these funds?
I think that's a recommendation, right? What were your department?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The Kimley Horn study that was approved, you said it's going to take 18 months
Correct.
to complete, and then it'll be sent on to City Council with further recommendations. Is that study, or the completion of that study, a necessary precursor to utilization of the funds that we're talking about here?
Yes. I mean, for future funds, yes. I mean, we have funding for the study, obviously, but anything, once we decide on select options to move forward,
So I guess my question is, you have $1.5 million being spent in, $1.25 million being spent in FY 2026. Is that reasonable because we're going to be in the middle of 2026 by the time that study is released, is my understanding of it? Or am I off on this?
Kristen Simeone, Finance Director. So at the time this was, the CIP sheet was developed by the department and division. That was their estimated way of funding, but it could be pushed out. So probably would be pushed out if the study doesn't complete in time, because then you still have to go out to bid for the construction. We'll have to get input from council about which items they want to move forward. I do want to point out that council did move a little over $2 million to this project as well from the fish bill sale that was originally scheduled for the City Hall project. So they're moving that to this project. But as Ron pointed out, they put a smaller estimate in, but they think it'll go over $5 million, so there might still be need for funding. With the funds that are there, if for some reason a project came out that, hey, we could do this and it won't affect, say, anything else, but will help with flooding, council could direct, and the department would have the funds available to start a project sooner than having to wait for the study if they found a viable project that wouldn't really.
So just Bill Courtney, one further question. So you're saying if council gave $2 million, this request here is for 3.6, that would give $5.6 million in the bank, so to speak, to spend on this. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is certainly one where you have to consider building a fund because of the amount of projects that might be recommended or introduced. So
This would be the biggest project ever, see.
Move on to the next? Okay. ADA improvements citywide.
Bob Gatus, has a study been conducted to determine what is required to become ADA compliant in these locations, the parks and the city hall?
Yes, sir. There's a study. It is managing our HR in terms of the ADA administrator. It's just a matter of having a fund to complete these projects as we go along.
Bob Gates, so the total request is based upon that study, or is it just to continue this in the future so that we can continue to get funded from the federal government or the state government?
Could you scroll back up to the spreadsheet part? Thank you.
Okay, from what I'm reading on the sheet here, there is funding up through FY27, and then beyond that, FY28 is unfunded for any future projects.
Bob Gates, this also sounds like this is beyond ADA. There are other projects that could be included in this and not strictly ADA.
I think for this would have to be ADA, just general work on a great deal of categories.
Kristen Simeone, Finance Director. So in some cases, ADA elements, park impacts, or other sources, depending on the project that was approved.
Would include state.
So it would depend if they got grant funding or
Should I carry on to the next? Should I take one? Okay.
Bill Courtney, just to the question, I'm trying to get the math to work on this. If it says $8,000 per pole, and there are 20 poles.
Yeah, there's multiple
I see.
poles.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
Multiple poles per intersection.
Yeah,
All right.
4 poles per each intersection.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Got it.
Boy, this is Joyce. So with regard to the maintenance of these, are they more costly to maintain than our standard directional poles? So it would result in an increased cost then?
Yeah, realistically.
Okay, thank you.
because it would be more than what the equipment is there now, so. Let's say there's a split cost with FDOT.
Say that one more time.
Number 20.
Yeah, there's a split cost with FDOT on these.
Oh, split cost. Oh, okay, I see that.
Is that just for that one location? Ken Kraus, clarification. It shows split costs only on number 20, or is that for all of them?
Well, there's the city-owned intersections, there's the FDOT intersections, and then the city-owned intersections, and then there's a split cost with Airport Road and Taylor Road. So there will be some federal funding for these.
Rick Lemcool, Urban Design. The city did apply for a what's called a Safe Streets for All grant from the Federal Department of Transportation for this particular project, and the results should be out in November. Whether or not it's going to be funded, but it'll be partial funding likely. It depends on what how we procure and what the actual project cost is. So don't know exactly what the total is going to be, but results in November. If results are unfavorable, then we'll just continue to pursue grants.
Carry on?
Carry on.
Carry on, okay. Pickleball court fencing replacement. Engineering and design to ensure fence can support acoustic panels, remove existing fencing, perimeter and court divide, install new 10-foot, schedule 40 minimum fencing around the exterior in addition of scheduled 40 minimum poles along the bottom of the fencing to extend the life of the fence installed. Did you have some comments? Okay.
Ron Everts, Public Works. Since this CIP sheet, magnetic personality. Since this CIP sheet has been put up, obviously we've had storm damage, and we're currently working through the process of putting this to the insurance company. So the entirety of the funding has changed, the requirements for this. There's a group that has put together a large sum of money for putting in the plantings as a replacement for the acoustic panels. And so that's still a little bit up in the air on this project, and so we're not sure quite yet how that funding is all going to work out. But hopefully most of it will be through insurance recovery.
So there might be some nonprofit support as well too for the plantings, okay. So there is some additional support beyond the city on this one. Should I move to the next? Everyone set? West William Street drainage improvements. Relocate existing drainage patterns from private property to enhance drainage to city-owned right-of-way. This would include regrading existing swales, installing new drainage structures and piping along McGregor and West William Street to the tidal canal. Will require sidewalk and driveway replacements, including surveying and environmental permitting. Next one. What's that?
Patty Allen, can we go back to West William Drainage? Is that multiple entities?
I think that's just city.
Just
Just the city, yeah. Glasgow Avenue improvements. Due to the residential development in the south of Glasgow Avenue and the anticipated commercial development to the north, this roadway may need to be improved by the to city standards. The current roadway is approximately 10 feet to width. The roadway may need to be widened to at least 22 feet. Possible swale improvements may be necessary. Project would include surveying, engineering, and permitting. These improvements may become necessary between James Loop and Mac Heather Street.
Blake, this is Joyce. So this is where the new residential development has gone in would be on the south side of Jones Loop Road. Why hasn't the developer taken care of this?
Ron Evers, Public Works. So when that one went through the DRC, the traffic impact study indicated that because they're going to have a dedicated drive off of Jones Loop Road, that was going to be the most traveled and was not going to adversely impact the Glasgow traffic. The commercial parcel that's just north of there, as you're probably aware, has just been purchased, and we've already been in discussions through the design studio with that developer that the city would like the developer to do those improvements as part of their project. That's still something that we're in negotiations with.
So potentially, if we were to rate this as highly needed, it may not be needed. I mean, because the developer
It's very early in the stages on that, yes.
Okay. So how would you recommend would we vote in favor? I mean, obviously it's something that needs to be done, but do we put it high on the priority list, or?
That's what you're here for, to make that determination.
We're checking on something really quick. So let's just say that the developer does agree to take care of it. There may be a chance that it may be a joint venture between the developer and the city taking on portions of it.
They may get a contribution.
Could be possible. We were also looking at possible impact fee reduction for them that was one of the conversations we had. But if this road segment isn't improved, there is road segments in that same vicinity that need to be brought up to city standards as well. So if that funding were set aside for that road project and it didn't need to take place, we could improve the other roadways that are adjacent. Indian Springs was the one.
Kristen Simeon, so council does have the final direction on 1% sales tax projects and making changes. However, they do try to stay as close to whatever was voted on by the citizens, once it goes for vote. So a possible suggestion here would be Glasgow and or other roads in the near vicinity or something like that, so that you have that included as an alternative.
Thank you.
Bob Gates, so as I look at the sheet here, impacts on operations, 4,000. So should I assume that it's $4,000 in increased maintenance costs annual?
Yeah. Well, it was just it wasn't on the screen.
Kristen Simeon, I'm not sure how the division meant that to be, if they meant it to be annual or if it's a certain amount per year and that was for the multiple years. Do you know? I would assume there's going to be like swale, like they have to take care of the swales, and it might not always be every year, but eventually you have to take care of some of that roadway work on that sidewalks. Yes, they wanted to know if it was 4,000 per year or if that was like.
Bob Gates, now, I'm just wondering if that's going to be an increase in cost. Is that what that's suggesting, right?
It definitely suggests, yes, that you would have some annual maintenance that would need to be done. And again, it might not be every single year, but over the life, they do have to clean out the sideways and everything like that and take care of any right-of-way and pavement rejuvenation at some point, potholes.
Bill Courtney, is this also the location of the potential new hospitals or medical facility that's going up there?
North of Glasgow is the commercial parcel that Ron was referring to.
Okay. So these improvements would affect the access to that hospital as well?
Yes. They're still working on all their design layout, but yes.
So there's the possibility that we could get relief, financial relief, or a partnership with the hospital developer?
That's what we're attempting to do through Design Studio.
Mike Cox, so is this, again, is it, like Isaac was saying, is this a joint, is it one, is it multiple organizations?
There's a possibility that we'll get some contribution from a private developer. So I don't think there's any state or county involvement. So it would be the city alone negotiating with the developer.
Isaac James, so just to be clear, we're voting on this, and this is, that's a big difference between 12 people, whether we decide there's a maybe of 3 or there's none. That's a big difference in voting. So why is that on the scoring sheet if all of these possibilities? I mean, in the end, amongst 12 people, whether someone votes 1 or votes 3, that's a very big difference in scoring.
The projects, being fairly early in the development process, those questions are not always answered.
So then why should that be one of the scoring points? It shouldn't be on this technically if we don't actually know. If that's the case, then we should just put either 0 or 1 next to it. But I don't understand why it's
if it's completely unknown, then yeah, you could make it a 0 or 1.
All of them have been possibilities throughout this entire meeting. Each project is, well, it's a maybe. Yeah. It depends on if we get a grant.
Well, some of them do have, there is federal funding, like the accessible signals, but some, are not quite yet known. So.
Lisa Gillen, would it be better for us to leave that blank and then based on determination by staff, everyone then has the same vote or the same count for that field?
Yeah, and that's what we did on the first sheet. So now we are able to address some of those questions here with the staff. So that's what we've attempted to do. Gateway Alley, 100 block West Marion at Harold Court. To reconstruct the pedestrian alley on the 100 block of West Marion Avenue, this alley provides a pedestrian gateway from the Harold Court Center parking garage to businesses and properties along West Marion Avenue. Walkway surface, landscaping, lighting, seating, and other aesthetic amenities require updating and replacement to meet current city standards and best practices for ADA accessibility, lighting, safety and aesthetics, and stormwater management. Project will.
Bob Gates, should we assume that the operating costs would decrease with this project because of the sewer implications or stormwater management?
I think if you replace it with newer infrastructures, it generally assume the short-term operation and maintenance would go down. Am I correct in that? Utilities improvements and upgrades. Okay.
That statement you made on the record?
I was just saying possibly so.
Patty Allen, I would think that it would increase because then you have to maintain benches and bricks and whatever else that you're going to put in there.
There is some existing fixtures in there now. Yeah, there could be a minimal increase in cost, but in general, it's...
Brian Clemens, Public Works. So something like this, it's a little hard to tell because while there's going to be net gains and net losses, you know, the unevenness of the alleyway, having to maintain those pavers and such, once you go in and get all that to where it needs to be, you know, that may go down. But if you're adding other things, yes, it may be increased. So it may be close to a wash, but it's kind of hard to say, especially if we don't know exactly what's going in there at this point in time.
Lisa Gillen, is this another potential field, though, that we should be leaving blank for staff to determine, so we're not guessing?
Yeah, certainly if it's blank, we could answer. Just from my perspective and experience, if you're replacing new with old, your operation maintenance would be less in the short term. For example, on the fire truck, a new fire truck is going to be less to maintain and operate than a 25 or 20-year-old fire truck. So that's kind of how I looked at that project, for example. So just sidewalk connections on West Marion, Bell Harbor to Shreve, West Henry to Shreve, followed by design, engineering, permit, land easement acquisitions and construction. And there's the funding breakdown there. I'll expand that. This one is tied to the transportation element of the comprehensive plan. So it's essentially adding sidewalk to the south side of the roadway. There's a large disconnected portions there.
This Bill Courtney, I assume the neighborhood wants this?
Yeah, it is a part of the plan, transportation plan.
But have we asked the neighbors whether they want a sidewalk in front of their...
I don't think it's got into that level of neighbor to neighbor.
In the past, some sidewalk projects have become somewhat controversial, let's say, in past years, because you're taking away what people think of as their properties. I'm just curious whether we've asked the neighborhood whether they want this project or not.
Yeah, I can say it's probably not got into that level of detail, but yeah, I realize that can happen. You may have 10 people that want it and one that doesn't. So. But yeah, it is a part of the plan to do that.
From my brief tenure on City Council, I can say this project came up several times from residents who were talking about safety and accessibility. So I think there's a lot of support for doing this.
Bill Courtney, I vouch your experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patty Allen.
Yes, thank you.
A lot of people walk all over in this area. It's a lot of walkers, dog walkers, bikers.
Ken Kraus, I would agree. I live 2 blocks from it, and if you're making a right turn off of Bow Harbor onto Marion, oftentimes you'll have people starting to cross over, and it's very hard to see them without a sidewalk there.
I'll go on to the next here. Sidewalk connections on Via Tripoli, from Galena Drive. Recommend to connect this area to a larger city sidewalk network, providing greater mobility and accessibility. This project will include sidewalk design and at least 9 driveway crossings and 4 intersection treatments. Is everyone clear of that location? I know there was some questions of that location last time.
Wait, this is Joyce. So just looking at the last project, it indicated a $1,500 annual maintenance fee. Why wouldn't there be a maintenance fee, or whatever that 1,500 is? Why wouldn't there be that? I don't see that on the sidewalk connection for me in Tripoli.
That may not have been developed. It also depends on what drainage is needed. The other project, I think, was larger, had more drainage needs. But there would be some maintenance for new sidewalks, certainly. We could come up with a figure for that. I think it's just the scale of the project is some variance as well. Yeah, I'll make a note of that one. On to the next.
That's the last one. Any more sheet?
Yeah, now we're going on to the, I'm going to do something here. Okay, we're going on to the 10C, or 2C, introduction of next 10 potential 1% sales tax projects. So this is like roughly 21 through 30 of the CIP list. So these are just being introduced for the first time. And I'll scroll down. And thanks for the suggestion, by the way, Brian. Okay. So first project, sidewalk improvements, phase 1. Continue construction of various sidewalks located throughout the city, new and repair as needed on a priority basis. Now this is just a fund, general fund for sidewalk improvements and repairs, which I think Public Works has been looking for to, so they can fill gaps in sidewalks as they come along that may not need a qualified CIP sheet on their own.
Is this a maintenance project, Chief Murtha? Is this a maintenance kitty or what?
It'd be for new
Doesn't seem like a
construction.
capital project to me.
Well, it's for new sidewalks, so there would be capital involved. And I'm sorry, where did you see maintenance on there?
No, I was just asking because you're showing a picture there with a bunch of cracks.
It's new and repair.
Yeah, well, and in some cases they might have to replace, yeah.
So it's a fund for new sidewalks.
Yeah,
No specific sidewalks, just
yeah, just a general fund, so they, and this is common in municipalities where they have a sidewalk fund.
Hi, it's Bill Courtney. Two comments. One, I know the project priority flag is now appearing on these sheets, which is, it says critical here, which did not appear on any of the earlier sheets, and it does in this set. So I like that. I wish it were on some of the others, because it gives us an idea of how the city and how staff believes
Yeah.
they're critical or not. So I like it here. I wish it had been on all the others,
Yeah.
because it's one other piece of information we didn't have.
Yeah, I thought we did have those on there. This just stands out more because it's red.
Well, no, the others say low if you will, when you get further on in this, so.
Okay.
That's why I was.
Yeah, it's just a different categorization.
I mean, I like it, but I just wish we had had it for the others.
Kristen Simeone. Yeah, this is the first year we're trying this new format. And we're trying to accomplish multiple things on one form, but that also then feeds our budget book form. So it looks like the ones earlier from today were like the budget book form, which was like, say, a different page that fed from these pages. I'm not sure when you provided them last week if you were using, last month, if you were using the newer form or if you were using the one from the budget book. So.
We didn't have them yet. Danielle might get those. We didn't have them. They weren't all converted? Okay.
The general fund.
Yeah, I think you just recently converted yours.
Well, they were provided by the departments during the budget process. So these were all provided by the divisions.
My last comment, Bill Courtney again, I agree with Gene. This appears to me to be a maintenance project, not a new infrastructure project, as if you're going to go do sidewalks throughout Burnt Store Isles, for example. Well, this is, again, the picture is of cracked concrete needing to be repaired. So shouldn't this be part of the normal maintenance?
Sidewalk, and even replacing, I mean, one thing if you have to repair cracks, but if you have to reconstruct the sidewalk, add new sidewalk, then that's more of that's a capital. I don't know if I'm addressing that right, Kristen, or not? Yeah. Okay.
Gene Murtha again, yeah. This seems to me to be something that should be just becoming and budgeted in the general fund. I mean, this isn't really a capital project where 1% sales tax should be funding. And we need to do a sidewalk somewhere. I mean, you do the sidewalk, you come out of the general fund. But setting up a kitty that's for some future needs, it seems like it's misplaced to me.
Patty Allen, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, you can rate accordingly if you don't think it's something that falls in that criteria. Okay, I'll move. Next is unimproved alleyway. Make necessary improvements to alleyways as needed growth due to development along unimproved alleyways. Request $150,000 per year, unfunded, necessary repairs to provide safe access and drainage to homes. So this one, I guess you could say too, there could be some maintenance involved, but also construction, depending on the level of improvements that they're going to repave, or I don't know if Public Works has more background on these projects.
So Boyd, Donna Peterman, where specifically are these alleyways that people are using as roads, which really aren't roads? You know, they're not platted as roads. And if we talk about the historic district, if we look at Sarah Street was an alleyway that became a road because the residents who live on there did it. So why is the city changing alleyways into roads?
This is public that have been improved in the past. They're beginning to develop on these alleyways more frequent. And on the east side, there's approximately 7 unimproved right-of-way or alleyways on that side of town also. And as you know, the east side of town is continuing to see a lot of development, and some of those are utilizing alleyways for rear access homes.
But again, my point is, people built on the unimproved alleyway because I think the lots are cheaper than if they built on a real road, and so now we want the city to turn it into a road when it was an alleyway. Just my point. I mean, is this something that we should do for the convenience of people who knew where they were building?
Is this a city question? City recommending this as a project? I mean, or are they just looking to set up another kitty or another fund?
Well, I think you have identified alleyways you'd like to improve.
It's getting a little confusing.
Yes, Ron Edwards, Public Works. This is a request that we've been receiving more frequently over the last several years. Again, as the development increases, the citizens have been asking for this, and so this is something that's been on our radar for some time. It's remained unfunded until up to this date, so we're hoping to seek funding to be able to make those improvements.
Craig Holt. I had a question about the design and engineering. It seems like on all these call sheets, that's a large amount. Like for this, it's 150,000 for design and engineering. Are we outsourcing all of this, or is any of this done in-house?
I think it's typically outsourced.
Brian Clemens, Public Works. So it depends on the project, whether we outsource. A lot of our time lately is tied up on a lot of the hurricane recovery and such. We do smaller projects in-house, maybe a sidewalk design or such. These alleys, that one could go either way, I guess, just depending on if we have the resources at the time to do it.
So for this particular sheet, how did you come up with 150,000 for design and engineering?
I'm trying to recollect how that was broken up.
And in the sidewalk before that, the Fisherman's Village, it was 450,000 for design and engineering. So do you already have a company planning to do the work, or how did we come up with that figure?
I assume that one.
I think it's probably based on estimates, yeah.
This one I have some familiarity with, the Fisherman's Village, not so much. I'm not quite, I'd have to go back and review this one, the 150,000.
Good question.
I think
On the drainage work.
it depends on how involved it is, and there's utilities in there. So if we had to, some of these have utilities. If we had to redesign those, surveying. There are no
outsourced, like survey and all that's outsourced, or are we doing it in-house?
Surveying, definitely. We do not have a city surveyor, so we do outsource that. And then yes, design on larger projects is outsourced. We don't have the staff.
Ken Kraus, do you have a percent of the retail value or the cost of the job that you use? Do you estimate that way, or do you look at the actual components?
I don't know that I quite follow
Well, this project's cost is 600,000. So that's a percentage, of that, or how do you rate your income?
How do I determine the pricing? So normally what I don't have an estimating software, but I look at other projects and the engineer takeoffs and try to utilize those numbers to create my budget estimates.
Fair enough.
Gene Murtha again. These alleyways, were they actual streets or alleys on the original plat maps, or were they just somebody's driving habitually across the front lawn and turning in an alleyway? Now they want it to be a street. I mean, what's the genesis of these?
They're platted alleys.
They're platted out?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Platted alleys.
But they're not streets.
Is there more than one? I mean, the project refers to an unimproved alleyway, but under the description it refers to multiple alleyways.
There's multiple, as Ron indicated earlier. You have the Tribune on the west side. There is like 7 of them on the east side.
So 8 alleyways,
Is that the total?
essentially?
That's my best guess right now. And I think that, to clarify, that's unimproved, because I think there may be some that, some have some improvements done to them.
So Donna Peterman, last question. So would this cover all 8 alleyways, or is this just the Trebu estimate?
A single, not all 8.
So one apiece?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Gee, Murtha, so somebody living on Treview has stepped forward and asked us to pave the alleyway. Is that it?
So I have been asked by Treview, yes.
Somebody living on Treview Alley has asked us to pave that road.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Next one. I'll move on to the next.
Who that is?
Baynard Vasco sidewalk improvements, connect missing sidewalk sections to provide safe connections from the residential community to the commercial section, giving access to a variety of destination points and a safe route to commercial, retail, and other areas. Design and construct missing sidewalk section at Shreve Street from Pompano to Vasco Street and along Baynard to Vasco and Acquiesta. Planning and estimates, design and permitting, construction, and contingency. I'm somewhat familiar with this area. Along Baynard, there is absolutely no sidewalk behind that tall shopping plaza running all along to Vasco, up to Pompano. And there's quite a bit of pedestrian and bicycle traffic that I know of on that road. Now, there would have to be, if you're asking about the planning and estimates, there is drainage that needs to be addressed along that way. And then this would ultimately connect to the multi-use path on Shreve, so it'd be gaining some connectivity through this as well.
Bob Gates, similar to previous comments, I do like the project priority. Is there criteria associated with that? Because I see they're all coming up critical, and maybe they are. I'm curious if there's criteria to determine what is critical.
Well, generally, the departments will rate these on their own. And I guess if there's a safety implication, then it's rated more critical than others. So.
Boy, this is Joyce. So the goal here says to complete the 18-mile pedestrian bicycle pathway. And it looks like it was previously granted, or there was a grant that was applied to this. So are those funds depleted? And this is just a continuation of that project? Or are there any funds left from that, the 18-mile citywide project?
I'm not seeing what, you said there's a grant?
Under the priority alignment and goal, it states in infrastructure sustainability goal, complete the 18-mile pedestrian bicycle pathway connecting all neighborhoods.
With applicable granting
Collaboration
agencies.
with applicable granting agencies and city investment in the pathways through June 28.
Kristen Simeone, Finance Director. So in some of our Harbor Walk projects or sidewalk projects, we did get FDOT, what they call LAP funding, local agency program funding. We did have a Baynard Vasco sidewalk project in the past, but then it was not funded by a grant. It was funded with city funds, and with other priorities, it had reverted back to unfunded. Council had moved those fundings to other projects.
So how does that happen? So money is designated for a particular project?
Mm-hmm.
The project doesn't get done?
So we have a 5-year plan, and it was in the 5-year plan to be funded with city funds, and during the time there were other projects that were higher priorities for city council. So when they're looking for funds, they say, okay, well, if we have all these projects, is there a project that maybe that is not as critical at that time, and so they can move the funds anytime. So with the 1%, it's a little different because they do try to stay on with with what the voters had approved. But when it's just like city general funding that might have been moved over to the general construction fund, they may have moved that money back for another project need. So.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go into the next. Just a reminder, we'll rate these at the next December meeting then. Okay, this Harbor Walk East. Design and engineering includes environmental permitting along the Harbor Walk Gap, from Adrian Avenue to Cooper Street to include landscape, decorative lighting, wayfinding, signage, approximately 700 feet, and construct. Cost estimate pending design and scheduling, total 1.9 million. Design and permitting, and then construction. Will be completing a critical link between the existing Harbor Walk and the proposed Cooper Street pathway. Will provide access to various destination points and a safe route to commercial, medical, retail, historical, and downtown areas of Punta Gorda. Completion will contribute to the city's urban mobility, creating a strong, viable community.
Isaac James. So I'm fairly familiar with this. Before it was closed, we used to run down here all the time. That's just extending past the current Harbor Walk and wrapping around to East Marion. So there's nothing existing there right now.
No, yeah.
And so that all of that is mangroves right now. So what exactly? That's not a very long distance. What is the? I mean, I see it's a low priority, which I don't understand what the point is, because right now there's nothing there. I mean, you're only talking a block.
Yeah.
The hospital's not open. There is no shopping right on the other side of the hospital. So what is the point that the city staff is trying to make as to why we should put it there?
This was a capital project inputted in the past, so we still have it within the books, but. And keep in mind, your feedback, if you have questions on it, then perhaps it's not a strong project at this time. So you can, rate it as is.
Gene
So this is maybe something more of a consideration for the
Isaac
future.
points out that's cutting through the mangroves, right? That's bad news.
Good luck getting them.
Don't mess with the mangroves.
Yeah. Well, maybe it would be one of those wooden walkways where they put in some other areas, so.
I would think that Patty Allen, I would think that the mangroves are going to help with flooding at some point there. And if you're removing mangroves, then that's an expensive mitigation
I have a
to
quick
do.
question.
I see no point in it.
Yeah, I just had a clarification question.
Ron Evers, Public Works. This is a project that in the long-range plan is to connect the Cooper Street Complete Street project. So that project hasn't moved along. It's in the conceptual, I think it's 30% plans, and that's to have a MIRT, multi-use trail that would connect all the way down Cooper Street and then come back across on Airport Road as part of the Airport Complete Street project, and then connect to the wide MIRT on Shreve. So it's completing that 18-mile loop or whatever it is that goes around it. But they all go hand in hand.
I'll move on to the next. And just to add, your feedback on these projects are important because the council will ultimately get that information and feedback. So maybe some of these projects need to be pushed aside or redeveloped, or reconsidered. Bicycle capital improvement program. And again, this is like the sidewalk program. This is establishing a fund for bicycle improvements. Project study to review 2019 transportation study, 2019 plan Punta Gorda, citywide master plan, and 23 park and recreation master plan to prepare an implementation plan for the city's vision of creating a well-connected network of infrastructures. Improvements may include, but not limited to, signage, sharrows, pavement markings, and bicycle facilities. This is infrastructure sustainability. Establish a 5-year capital improvements program to ensure infrastructure is in place to meet projected growth, demand, and update the plan on an annual basis. So again, this is a fund to complete projects as they're identified. Okay, I'll go to the next. Harbor Walk, northbound bridge underpass improvements, design and construct improvements to Harbor Walk underpass, planning estimates, design, permitting currently $255,000 unfunded. Increase the level of service at the existing pinch point in the Harbor Walk portion of Punta Gorda pathways. In addition, the project will improve site lighting to enhance security and safety of the path. This is essentially widening of the walkway under there, yeah, and add some lighting. This is a good project, but in consideration of the others that need to be done in advance. That's probably why it's rated a lower priority. I'll scroll down to the next. Complete Street, Virginia Avenue improvements. It's Harvey Street to US 41. I think in the recent meetings you've seen it was US 41 to Nesbet to the west. So this would be that more that, or I'm sorry, to the east. This is more the western portion. To continuation of that Complete Street concept. Design and construct street improvements on Virginia Avenue from Harvey Street to US 41. Those are a breakdown of the estimates. And I'll move on to the next. Mott Street, angled parking. Mott Street, adjacent to the Visual Arts Center and across from Fisherman's Village, offers an opportunity to provide additional parking in a concentrated business area. Project requires engineering and planning for final numbers. However, preliminary conservative observations indicate a potential for 35 or more angled brick paver parking spaces along Mott Street. This will alleviate congestion and promote parking safety.
Bob Gates, is this due to the parking needs for Fisherman's Village? Is that the same area?
Yeah, I think in part it will support the demand there.
Hi, this is Bill Courtney. Part of the description talks about, back to your point just of whether it's for Fisherman's Village or not, talks about the need to care for anticipated visual arts center expansions and their needs. So my question about this was, won't this instantly be filled up by Fisherman's Village and hence be of no real benefit, net benefit to the visual arts center? I mean, my concern is that we could do this and increase the number of parking spaces, which is great, but there's nothing to say someone's not going to park there and walk over to Fisherman's.
Yeah, I guess it's dependent on the providing more spaces does fill some of the demand then.
Yeah.
Patty Allen. Obviously, I've got a little bit of a bias here, but remember that Fisherman's Village holds 35 small businesses. So it's not necessarily what we do for downtown, for the businesses downtown, like maybe the alleyway and that promotes business. This also promotes business. We have a great relationship with the visual arts when they have a big doings. Same with the military museum, they use our parking. And we work in tandem, referring people over back and forth. So I don't mean to skew thought processes, but, you know, no one knew back when Fisherman's Village was built how much it's going to expand. So I think that when we look at this, I would like everybody to look at not only Fisherman's Village, the visual arts, the military museum, we all work in tandem, and the Peace River Wildlife Center. That's going to be coming as well. So why wouldn't they use that parking too for their big events? So I kind of just want to make sure everybody understands it's not just us. They use our parking, we use their parking, and we promote each other. So it's almost an entertainment district, if you would. So, but again, remember we have 35 small business owners, and they're, you know, they're important to the, excuse me, to the city's well-being as well. Am I allowed to say that? I guess I just did.
So Boyd, Donna Peterman, I was the president of the Visual Arts Center, but I didn't have anything to do with this proposal. My husband was on the last 1% sales tax committee, and as I recall, this project was highly rated by that group. That it was, in fact, it was put forward by the Visual Arts Center executive director because they were taking in nonprofit recommendations, and this project was very highly rated by that group, but obviously nothing's happened. But I would agree with Patty. I think the whole point is trying to create a destination, you know, from all of those various attractions, and so anything that promotes accessibility, I think, would be good for the city.
Kristen Simeon, Finance Director, and I was just going to bring up that point that this was a submitted project from the community. And again, I couldn't remember who submitted it, but it was recommended to keep it in our plan, so that's why it is still in our plan at this time.
Ken Kraus from what, for lack of a better terms, a parking-starved community. I really think that any parking that we can do is a benefit to the overall community, so I agree. Yeah.
Joyce Tilden. So just to clarify, this, in an existing state, people can park along those areas where the diagonal parking would go, but it's unpaved and it's undesignated, if you will, as a parking area.
Yeah.
So could they be cited if for example, they were just to park along Maud Street on the dirt road or on the grass there? Is that what?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't want to comment as not being in the police.
I can help with that. People will park in the swales, and it's not safe. When we have big events, it's all blocked off, so for safety reasons. So something like this would add accessibility, safety. There's a sidewalk on the 5-star side. But right now they will park in swales and anywhere that they can put their car, and it's not good. It's not safe.
Bob Gates.
No, I just said thank you.
Oh, Bob Gates, so would there be sidewalks in addition to this, or just parking?
I don't believe sidewalks are included in that design. It's not a complete street.
People will be parking and walking along the street.
And I think ideally there would be parking, and in reading through this, it does still require engineering and final numbers. I would think sidewalks would be a part of the proposal.
Ron Edwards, Public Works, sidewalks would absolutely be incorporated. This is more in the conceptual phase at this point in time. That's why that's not sketched in.
And we'll add that to the sheet to specify that. Scroll down. I think we might be towards the end here. Royal Poinciana Improvements, Complete Street. Design and construct complete street concept for Royal Poinciana between US 41 and Burnt Store Road to include pavers, landscaping, bicycle facilities, ADA improvements, high visibility crosswalks, and decorative finish intersections. The total cost estimate is $3.25 million. There's the breakdown below. I think in time, this will be a more heavily traveled route.
Heavily traveled.
So certainly something we'll keep on. Tropicana and Marion sidewalk enhancement. Sidewalk extension from Marion Avenue to Hibiscus Drive to enhance public safety. $400, the preliminary estimate. So it's a sidewalk project. I'll go on to the next. That's it? Okay.
Patty Allen, any of these, can they be moved up to a higher priority in things that are, maybe we as a group decide that are a lower priority, can they, or high priority, can they be moved to a low?
Certainly you can make recommendations. Yes, and we consolidate these at the end. We could, recommendations be passed along to the city council.
Gene Murtha, I thought that was the last step, that we were going to do that, Denny. Yes.
Well, we're rating each project, and those that rate lower will probably pass along as a lower priority. But if you have some that are all high, you could recommend one, through a vote or consensus when we get to the final refinement. Staff comments, just that our next meeting will be December. I announced that earlier, December 9th. And that'll be our last set of projects. And if you have your scoring sheets, I can just collect those if you want to just leave them there or drop them off up here. And I thank you. I thank our staff for their support. I thank you for your patience and participation and the input. And have a good afternoon.
See you at 1 o'clock.
December, November is canceled.
Meeting adjourned. We need to do a vote.